And welcome to Area DMG. I am your host, Will Wesley, the Mile High Mouth, and today we're going to talk a little bit about, well, the eShop digital service. You see, you kind of get, these are stacks of DS cartridges, or 3DS cartridges. Things like, you know, Pokemon and such. But what we're going to talk here is about the eShop, the Nintendo digital service that allows you to download games off of the internet. Sometimes virtual console stuff, and sometimes, since I think they started this in late 2011, I think, they started putting out full retail titles. Now, of course, when you start doing that, you kind of invite yourself up to some type of criticism. For example, when the PlayStation Network, when Sony started putting PlayStation Portable titles on the PlayStation Network, in anticipation of PlayStation Portable Go, we did stacking videos where we would compare what was on there, what should be on there, what wouldn't be on there, etc., etc. Now, since Nintendo has gone the digital route as well, they've been a little bit better about it, but not much. Now, Sony's been excellent with the Vita. The PlayStation Vita, everything available retail is also available digital. I think there's very, very, very few exceptions, and I think I can pretty much count those on like one hand. But let's talk about the 3DS eShop and the status of, well, games on the eShop that are also retail. In other words, the availability of retail titles on the Nintendo 3DS eShop. I know people are like, "What? Why should we care?" Well, actually, you should. Let's talk about these stacks for a moment. The stack over here is titles that are on retail and eShop. So stuff like Pokemon X and Y, or Tetris Axis, or Sonic Generation, Mario and Luigi and stuff like that, or Luigi's Mansion and such. Nintendo's been pretty good about getting their newer titles on there. But there are some titles that have fallen through the cracks. And that's what these are here. Some of these are a little weird. For example, Nano Assault is actually on the eShop as Nano Assault EX. Now, the thing that makes it different is Nano Assault EX is actually a special edition of this game. So this game, the retail version, is actually inferior to the digital version. The digital version has added CirclePad Pro capabilities, turning it into a twin-stick shooter. It has tweaked graphics, tweaked sound. In other words, this version of Nano Assault will never be on the eShop. And with good reason, because a superior digital version already exists on the eShop called Nano Assault EX. And so technically, yeah, that should be in this pile, but not really, because it's more of an upgraded version of the game that's there. Now let's talk what's in here. There's a couple things here that I don't expect to ever see on the eShop. Things like Spirit Camera or Skylanders. The reason I don't ever expect to see those on the eShop is that they require additional physical items. For example, with Spirit Camera, it comes with a little booklet that is the basis of the entire game. With Skylanders, you have the little throne or trap or whatever they have now, and the little figurines. Since you obviously can't download those physical items as a digital item, this and say Disney Infinity will never make it to the eShop. Sorry. But there are some things which, this is the stack that kind of worries me a little bit. Now, some of these are a little odd. For example, Nintendo still has not put any of their Nintendog stuff on the eShop in North America. All the stuff that we're talking about has to do with North America. So, the United States of America, Canada, Mexico, Central America. Yeah, I know Mexico's part of Central America, but some people seem to think it's part of North America. Well, parts of it might be. I don't want to piss off Mexico. Not really. It's Cinco de Mayo today, and that doesn't mean anything to me. So anyways, yeah, Nintendogs isn't there. Things like Angry Birds Trilogy, oddly enough, isn't there. Although Angry Birds Trilogy, I think Angry Birds Space might be on the eShop. I have to do some checking up on that. I know that they're on PlayStation Network, but I'm not sure if they had a physical release on PlayStation Network. It's weird. I'm surprised that this technically isn't on the eShop. It's just weird. some stuff that surprised me too, like BlazBlue, for example. This is BlazBlue Continuum Shift, BlazBlue 2 Continuum Shift or whatever, and it's not on the eShop. Now, I think part of the reason for that might be because I was looking at some of these titles that aren't on the eShop, and it occurs to me that, well, part of the reason for that might have to do with, licensing for digital. Some of these are a little odd. Like, I think Heroes of Ruin would definitely sell better on the eShop. Of course, Nintendogs. And then some weird ones like Dr. Lotrick, which we don't really need that on the eShop. I mean, no, not really. But some that really make me a little sad that they're not on the eShop would be like Pac-Man and Galaga Dimensions. I'm not sure why, probably licensing. Note that there's some Namco and Bandai, and oddly enough some weird there's some weird licensing stuff with some of these. You've got things like Bust-A-Move, Universe, which isn't on the eShop. Sega Shinobi, which darn well should be on the eShop. Ridge Racer, another Namco Bandai type thing, and that's also not on the eShop. Actually, let's make a little pile here. Namco. We have Dead or Alive, Dimensions, which this, if it was on the eShop, I'd totally buy it again. If it was cheap. It's great. Tales of the Abyss, also a Namco. You have things like Kingdom Hearts, Dream Drop Distance, Square, Metal Gear Solid, Snake Eater, that would be Konami. You have Pinball Hall of Fame, which is Crave, and it's got like the Williams style board, so weird. And then stuff like Final Fantasy Theatrhythm. Now, Curtain Call might end up on the eShop, so who knows. Then stuff like Steel Diver. The original one is not on the eShop. The one on the eShop is Sub Wars, which is amazing, but the original Steel Diver is not on there, so I'm not sure why. That just strikes me as odd. Oh, there they go. Yay, stacking. Anyways, other ones that are not on the eShop are Tekken, like Tekken 3D. Oh, let's see if we're focusing. Yep, Tekken 3D, which is another Namco thing. And then stuff like Cave Story 3D. There's a version of Cave Story on the eShop that's a port of the original game, but with all the Wii extras and such, so I'm surprised that Cave Story 3D isn't on there. Now, I could say it's because of NIS, but other NIS stuff and some really obscure Atlas stuff is also on the eShop. So it's more or less, I'm not sure why they haven't put this one out there on the eShop. So we've got like a weird picture going on here. I think it's just licensing that's prevented these. There's some weird ones like, say, Cubic Ninja. I mean, it's an Ubisoft game. Ubisoft games usually end up on the eShop, whether we want them to or not. Same with stuff like Driver Renegade. Kind of weird that it didn't show up, but what are you gonna do? So yeah, that's pretty much the state of the eShop currently. There is a few things that really should be on the eShop but aren't, and then some stuff that'll never show up on it. What we need to do is start petitioning companies, particularly Namco, to see if they can get their stuff on the eShop. Things like Cave Story 3D would sell better on the eShop. Now, with Final Fantasy Theatrhythm, I don't expect this to be on the eShop because Curtain Call is going to be on the eShop. At least we hope so in the United States. Kingdom Hearts, though, they could sell so much of this digitally, but I don't know why. Maybe they hate money. But yeah, let's talk about Namco. Namco is the biggest offender of this. While I'm not sure why they don't, but come on, Namco. You can do this. Nintendo released it, Dead or Alive Dimensions, here in the United States. Maybe there's some type of licensing agreement where they can't do that, but Namco stuff really needs to show up on the eShop. Things like Tales of the Abyss, Ridge Racer 3D, Tekken 3D. Now, I can understand with this one, though, because Tekken 3D, Power Edition, wait, Prime Edition. Tekken 3D Prime Edition includes the Tekken 3D movie, as an extra, and Sony owns some of the rights there, so I don't know, that might be a reason why this has not been put onto the eShop. But there's really no excuse for Ridge Racer 3D, Tales of the Abyss, and Pac-Man and Galaga Dimensions to stay off the eShop. Same with Metal Gear Solid 3D and so forth. Now there's one cartridge that got away. I'll get that real quick. Okay. Yep. Yeah, probably looks awful. Anyways, it's Steel Diver that went flying. But yes, that's it. These are stacks of stuff that's on the eShop. Here's a stack of stuff that's not on the eShop. We need to start cracking down on companies that aren't releasing their games on the eShop. Come on, guys. Give us a digital version unless there's some type of physical tie-in. There's no reason not to put your game out on the eShop. Namco, we're looking at you.